Why do you think it is that comedians make for such strong dramatic performers? They say that comedians make people laugh to cover their own pain, using jokes to cover the drama. Whether that's true or not, it's still powerful to see a comedian put the drama front and center. Coming up as a comedian can be a completely different process than starting your career as an actor. So more often than not, a lot of comedians are typecast into funny roles. That sort of dramatic range isn't expected, and often comedians have to really impress to get anywhere doing dramas. And yet, a lot of comedians who venture into the drama zone do really well. What do you think are the best dramatic performances by comedians, and why? Let us know down in the comments, I'm really curious. Stick around because we're gonna narrow it down to 10 comedians whose dramatic turns seriously impressed us. We're counting down the top 10 comedians in dramatic roles. There are so many performances to count down here, and different dramatic performances are going to work for different people. The way we're going to count this down is not by only considering the quality of these comedians' dramatic performances, but also by considering whether they were able to make a substantial transition into dramatic roles, and how much cultural impact those roles had. I promise we'll do a hefty honorable mention section for anyone that nearly made the cut. Also, keep an eye on the directors mentioned throughout, because a strong director is key to bringing the drama out of these funny folks, in my opinion. Number 10, Albert Brooks in Drive, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn.
My hands are a little dirty. So am I.
His role as a pushy producer with mob ties in Drive is scary, intimidating, no funny business. But early in his career, it was all funny business. Brooks was a regular on talk shows during the 60s and 70s and had 2 hugely successful comedy albums. If you're an elderly Gen Z like me, you most likely know him best as the voice of Marlon in Finding Nemo and Russ Cargill in the Simpsons movie. Definitely check out some of his films from the 80s if you need some more of that humor and buttery smooth voice. His role in Drive is unlike anything else he's done though, and it received tons of praise from critics. It's, in my opinion, the biggest source of tension throughout the film. Do not get involved with this loan shark. He's the kind of scary that makes you cross the street. Number 9, Jason Segel in The End of the Tour, directed by James Ponsoldt.
It'd be kind of nice to have somebody that you just shared a life with and allowed yourself to be happy.
Okay, so Jason Segel never did stand-up, but he had his big break as an actor on the hit sitcom How I Met Your Mother. Since then, he's been in several comedy movies, most notably Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Segel usually plays a big lovable oaf who is well-meaning but kind of awkward. But that personality completely disappears in The End of the Tour, where he plays the iconic writer David Foster Wallace. Segel's performance as Wallace is brilliant, depressed, egotistical, and uncomfortably envious, especially for someone so successful. And yet, he's still somehow the kind of character that you want to love. It's a very layered performance that I never would have expected from someone like Jason Segel. Number 8, Steve Carell in The Big Short, directed by Adam McKay.
We call them synthetic CDOs.
What did you Synthetic CDOs.
Synthetic CDOs.
That is fucking crazy.
This is another performer who's best known for an iconic sitcom role. This entry is kind of a double whammy actually, because director Adam McKay is also mostly known for directing comedies like Step Brothers and Anchorman. There definitely are moments of humor in this movie, which helps liven up the dry subject matter, but there is a strong dramatic through line that is especially powerful in Steve Carell's performance. If you've seen the movie, you know the specific reveal his character gets, and Carell's delivery sticks with you. Number 7, Mary Tyler Moore in Ordinary People, directed by Robert Redford.
If it's starting all over again, the lying, the covering up, the disappearing for hours, I will not stand for it. I can't stand it. I really can't.
Well, don't then. Go to Europe.
Mary Tyler Moore was a pop culture sensation after her comedic performances on The Dick Van Dyke Show and her self-titled sitcom. Her role in the 1980 drama Ordinary People was a breakout performance that garnered tons of attention from critics at the time. The following award season, Moore took home the Golden Globe for Best Actress. This role didn't necessarily redefine her career, but it earned her a ton of respect and cemented her iconic status. Number 6, Whoopi Goldberg in The Color Purple, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Until you do right by me, everything you think about is gonna crumble.
Before The Color Purple, Whoopi Goldberg was seeing success in her one-woman comedy act on Broadway. That said, outside her theater work, she wasn't yet the icon that she is now. This entry is a bit of an exception, as Whoopi didn't have a massive reputation as a comedian just yet, since The Color Purple was her first big movie role. However, throughout her career, she's always delivered when it comes to comedies and dramas, which is kind of rare for comedic performers. Number 5, Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, directed by Michel Gondry. Also, Jim Carrey in The Truman Show, directed by Peter Weir.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Okay, this is a bit of a cheat, but how do you settle on either one of these performances? The two performances together are groundbreaking and solidified Carrey as a total chameleon, which is pretty fitting considering his rubber-faced stand-up sets. Carrey goes deep into both of these roles as a man who regrets his choice to forget, and as a man who is trying to escape a twisted world. I think these movies make for a great thematic pair because of Carrey's heavy performance as well as because of both films' reality-twisting themes. Number 4, Bill Murray in Lost in Translation, directed by Sofia Coppola.
The more you know who you are and what you want, the less you let things upset you.
Bill Murray is a comedic icon, best known for his dry sarcasm and sleazy characters. He's basically a real-world Bugs Bunny. Coppola sought out Bill Murray specifically for this role, and it shows as it's not one that could work with anyone else. Murray's performance received massive critical acclaim, and since then, the film has largely redefined his acting career. In the film, Murray blends the serious themes of disconnection with his well-known humor, which sheds a new light on both his dramatic side and his funny side. An all-time classic. If you haven't seen this one yet, do it now. Number 3, Michael Keaton in Birdman, directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu.
You know, what has to happen in a person's life for them to become a critic anyway?
Keaton was largely known as a comedian and comedic actor until the late 80s. In fact, when his casting as Batman was announced, fanboys sent rage-filled letters to the studio as they assumed Keaton would play a silly Batman. Goes to show that impotent raging fanboys were around well before the internet. Anyways, Keaton has been able to sprinkle his humor and dramatic skill throughout his career since then, but nothing he's done comes close to his performance in Birdman. It's a powerful send-up of the performing arts, as well as to Keaton's own real-world career reputation. The strength of this performance brought Keaton back to the public eye in a way that he hadn't been since the 1980s. And before I wrap up this segment, I want to shout out one of his lesser-known dramatic performances, Clean and Sober from 1988. If you liked his performance in Birdman, check that one out too. Number 2, Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, directed by Josh and Benny Safdie.
I disagree. I disagree, Gary.
Sandler is best known for playing a bit of an obnoxious man-child in all of his comedies. With that said, his killer performance in Uncut Gems isn't completely unexpected. He's flexed his dramatic muscles before in films like Punch Drunk Love, Spanglish, and Reign Over Me. The thing about Sandler is, even when he's playing an obnoxious man-child in his comedies, there's an interesting layer of angry anxiety under it all. Uncut Gems let him bring all of those nerves to the surface, which is largely responsible for the overwhelming stress felt throughout the film. If you've got anxiety or heart problems, maybe pass up on Uncut Gems. Otherwise, it's a must-watch modern classic. Alright, before we get to number 1, we've got to give some honorable mentions. I'll be honest, there are so many fantastic comedians who've had excellent dramatic performances. This list was a struggle to cut down, and it's by no means comprehensive. Here's some performances that narrowly missed the list, and I encourage you to give us your input in the comments below. Richard Pryor in Blue Collar, Sarah Silverman in I Smile Back, Ben Stiller in Greenberg, Marlon Wayans in Requiem for a Dream, Seth Rogen in Steve Jobs, Jerry Lewis in The King of Comedy, Jamie Foxx in Ray, Vince Vaughn in Brawl in Cell Block 99, and Will Ferrell in Stranger Than Fiction. I highly recommend each one of these movies, full of classics and strong performances. All that aside, let's get to number 1.
Well, we're waiting.
The number 1 dramatic role performed by a comedian is, in my opinion, Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting, directed by Gus Van Sant.
You got a bullshit answer for everybody. But I ask you a very simple question, and you can't give me a straight answer.
Robin Williams was a powerful, high-energy comedian who could put the biggest smile on anyone's face. The beautiful thing about his career is how well-rounded his range of performance is. He can do comedies for kids, comedies for adults, he can do drama, and no matter what he's doing, he's putting his whole heart into it. Good Will Hunting is the iconic Robin Williams performance, and it's easily among his most caring and layered. It is a masterclass in acting just to watch his character trying to crack Will Hunting's rough exterior. Sometimes we all just need Robin Williams to assure us.
It's not your fault.
What do you think? Have you got a different number 1? Why do you think it is that comedians make for such powerful dramatic performers? Give us your reasons and rankings in the comments down below.